So, hello, everybody, and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Hook back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, August 13th. Hope everybody's having a day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Friday, August 13th here today. Coming off of another big day in baseball yesterday. An amazing game last night. The Field of Dreams game was awesome. It was great. It was a great scene, a great venue for the MLB, and it was an amazing game last night. Obviously, Yankees do take a tough loss as they fall 9-8 in a wild game. It's from a fan standpoint, it stinks that they weren't able to get the win. The energy, how good I felt after Stanton hit that 3-run or that 2-3 run after he hit that home run was just out of this world crazy. Big hits and big moments. Gallo working that big walk with 2 outs that got Stan to the plate. Judge hits the 2-run home run, and then Gallo comes up, and, he's got to look at, he's got to have a good at-bat. He can't swing at a junk pitch, pop it up, and that be the game. He had a good at-bat, worked a walk. Stan came up and just drilled a home run first pitch. It wasn't like it was a battle. You saw it first pitch. He took it, and he drilled that thing into the cornfields. And then Britton obviously blew it in the bottom of the ninth. Tim Anderson with a walk-off home run. It was a great game. It was awesome. And I said that yesterday, too. I could go back and literally replay it. I said, I wanted to see a good game. I said, yeah, obviously, you want to see the Yankees win. But I said, I wanted to see a good game. We got a good game. And, sure, going into the bottom of the ninth, it seemed like the Yankees were going to go down without a fight. But they didn't. And they came back, scored 4 runs, in the bottom of the ninth, and came all the way back, and they were able to get the job done. And it was pretty crazy, too, because Wade leads off with a single, and then after that, you got LeMahieu and Gardner strike out. So there's a runner on first 2 outs, and you're like, oh, this game's over. You're like, oh, this is done. And then Judge comes up and just cranks the long home run, and then so on and so forth. A lot happened in those final couple innings, but it was an awesome game. It was awesome. I think, without a doubt, probably one of the best games, probably the best game I've ever seen in terms of just venue, scenery, the view. It was awesome, and that's on TV. Just imagine I could just imagine the people that were actually there, what they were able to see, because it was awesome. The whole introduction, everything. I'm going to get into it. I'm going to talk about it on the first topic. Everything was great. So, Yankees, Field of Dreams game, took a tough loss. They have a day off today. They'll play 2 more over the weekend. And now this is where it really comes, this is where reality, kind of smacks you in the face a little bit. Like yesterday, you had the Field of Dreams game. It was all great. The introduction, walking through the cornfields, everything that went into the game was awesome. Now it's kind of like back to reality. Like, all right, we're still going to our playoff spot. We got to get the wins on Saturday and Sunday. We got to find a way to win this series. So, Yankees day off today, a rare day off throughout the series, but obviously being in Iowa, they got to get to Chicago and do all that stuff. So that series will resume tomorrow back in Chicago. Mets get much-needed wins. They sweep the Nationals in a weird series. It felt like the series took ages. Kind of did. You had the first day, you had the first game, you had the first day, the game got suspended, then the second day, you got the one game done, but then the second game got postponed, and then yesterday you had 2 more games. So they played 3 games across 3 days, still somehow, some way. It took a little bit more, I think, than they expected, but they got the job done. They did what they needed to do, and the Mets, hey, before this big, wild 13-game stretch, which includes a West Coast trip against the Dodgers and the Giants, that was a much-needed series win against the Nationals. So the Mets get the job done. They now head into what we consider the gauntlet, these 13 games against the Dodgers. There's a good chance they win 4 of these games. There's a good chance they do. I think if you're a Mets fan, you got to be satisfied if they can just at least come out of the series with 5 games. I think you got to be. I don't think you can expect them to come out of this game winning 9 out of 13. If they come out of this with 5 games, I think you got to be at least satisfied. If they come out of this with 3, that's an issue. But we'll see. They start up tonight against the Dodgers 3-game set. That will be the Sunday Night Baseball game on Sunday. So, great, a lot of baseball stuff going on. And, as much as I don't like the Mets, I can't stand them. I just don't like them. I just don't like the Mets. You know me. I don't like the Mets, Red Sox, As a Jet fan, I can't stand the Patriots. A lot of teams I don't like. So it is a great time for baseball when the Yankees and the Mets are both competing for playoff spot, because that's all you hear in the news, and that's everything like that. That's what I'm talking about, and like there's so much great stuff that goes on when both teams are competing for a playoff spot. It's not like both teams are 20 games below 500 at the bottom of their division, and we're talking about next season already. Both teams are still very well in the hunt now. The Yankees, I would say, are in a better position right now than the Mets, just because the Yankees are on a roll. Even though they lost last night, since the All-Star break, they've been on a roll. Mets, on the other hand, have been the opposite. Since the All-Star break, they've not been the same team we saw in the first half of the season. So we'll see how everything plays out. Friday podcast, so a lot to get to finish out the week. Let's get to the topics today. Obviously, as I said, yes, I don't know if I mentioned yesterday, but I was going to talk about the game today, no matter what the result was, no matter how it ended, especially the way how it ended, though, the wild finish that it was. I want to get into the Field of Dreams game, recap it, talk about, what went on. The wild game, just the craziness that went on, because it was a wild game. I mean, that was one of the most craziest games I've ever seen. Either way, it was an awesome game. It was a fun game. It was a great thing to watch, and I want to get into it, just talk about the whole Field of Dreams thing and everything that went on. So I want to get into that. We'll talk about that, Field of Dreams, everything that went on until last night's game. Preseason football is back. Believe New England won yesterday, and I believe Pittsburgh won yesterday. So those are your two games that were on yesterday. Today we got some more games. Bills, Lions, I believe, are on NFL Network. So that's another game there. Football's back. It's really crazy. Preseason. I want to get into the Jets and Giants preseason preview. Talk about their game tomorrow. Talk about players to watch. Zach Wilson will get about a quarter tomorrow. So give or take, that's about one or two drives. Let's say, 15-minute quarter. One or two drives, three drives maybe, however long the drives take, he'll get a quarter. So a couple possessions for Zach Wilson tomorrow. We don't know if we're going to see Elijah Moore. He's getting MRI in his quad. Hopefully everything comes back good with him, because he's been a star in training camp, and he looks like he could be a true threat in this league at the wide receiver position. I want to get into the Jets and Giants, not just talk about their game tomorrow, but kind of get into the whole preseason preview, what to look for and what to expect. And then we'll finish off the podcast with the New York sports update. A lot to get to in New York sports right now. A lot to get to in New York sports. Like a lot. And I mean a lot. You obviously have the games yesterday. You got the games today. Mets open up a 3-game set against the Dodgers. And this isn't just no 3-game set against the Dodgers. This is a big stretch here. Like if the Mets go 2-11 in this stretch, you could probably consider their season done. If they go 5-8, well, hey, they just were able to do their. I mean, if they go 5-8, if you're a Met fan and you win 5 games through this 13-game stretch, including the West Coast trip, you got to be satisfied. I don't think there's any Met fan going into this series expecting them to win 10 games. I don't. Now, sure, if you win 10 games, well, wow, then you found something. But if you don't, and you win 5 games, if you win 7, you got to be throwing a party. If you win 6, you should be happy. 4 to 5, 5 really, you should be okay with. Anything less, 4, even if you get 3, that's not good. So big series is coming up for the Mets. Yankees day off today. They'll resume the series tomorrow in Chicago. Jets and Giants tomorrow. A lot of good sports. So Jets and Giants tomorrow. Then the Jets go to Green Bay. They'll have some joint practice throughout the week. Then they'll play against Green Bay next weekend. And then they'll play their final preseason game the next week. They'll have some joint practices with the Eagles, and they'll play the Eagles. So it's pretty crazy. I got to tell you what. Tomorrow's game is going to be fun. I'll watch a little bit of that game. I'll see it. I definitely want to see what Wilson, I want to see him. Not that one preseason start's going to tell you everything about the guy, but it is good to see him in game action. There's only so much you can simulate and only so much you could take from training camp. But I don't know. I don't know. Something about going to Green Bay for a preseason game just seems so weird. Like, you would think they would be more for, like, the Jets, going all the way out to Green Bay for a preseason game. Like, I picture Green Bay as this loud stadium with playoff football and all that stuff, and for a preseason game, I just can't picture. It's going to be weird. I don't know. It's just going to be something that's weird. I don't know. I just can't picture the Jets going to Green Bay to play a preseason game. Like, when I think of Green Bay, Lambeau Field, I think of, snowing, loud crowd, NFC Championship game, close game, Lambeau Field's rocking. I don't picture the New York Jets going to Lambeau Field to play a preseason game. I just don't. That's going to be interesting. But either way, A lot to get to today on the podcast. With all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So, last night was awesome. Yes, the Yankees lost 9-8. Yes, they blew the lead. Yes, they made a big comeback. But, I said this yesterday, right? This is a huge series for the New York Yankees. And now this is where you get back to reality, right? Yesterday was awesome with the Field of Dreams game. I'll get to that in a second. But now it's, kind of like a smack in the face of reality. Like, now this is big because now the Yankees go to Chicago and they got to find a way to win two there. At least you got to find a way to win two. You can't get swept. And I'll tell you what, the Yankees, for how good the Chicago bullpen is, they hit off of one of the best relievers in baseball, Liam Hendricks. And Craig Kimbrell, I would say he didn't have his best stuff. I think he walked one or two guys. I think he walked a guy. He didn't have his best stuff. But I'll tell you what, the Yankees actually did pretty well against Liam. They did very well against Liam Hendricks. For a guy that came in, got the first 2 out of 3 batters he faced, struck him out. It looked like they were done. And then Judge comes up. It's a 2-run home run. And then Gallo works a really good at bat. He gets a walk. And then Stan comes up and just drills a home run on the first pitch. It was great. So the Yankees, even though they lost, to find a positive out of a negative, they hit arguably one of the best closers and relievers in baseball in Liam Hendricks. And Craig Kimbrell didn't have his best stuff. I think he walked a guy. He did strike out 2, but he did get a walk and he had a wild pitch and he didn't have his best stuff. But hey, he was able to get out of the inning clean. But last night was awesome. It was. And before I get to the whole game and the whole recap and all that stuff, and like I said, I'm going to get to it, but just the fact that the game was played, near the Field of Dreams site, it was all. And I'll tell you what, I know I say this a lot, because genuinely, I always have expectations, but usually I never always know what to expect. Yesterday I kind of expected. I expected a lot of, I expected it to be really cool, and it exceeded my expectations. I really do think so. It was awesome. It was an awesome night, and for MLB to put this field together, to plan this, for something that was supposed to happen last year, and it didn't, and it had to happen this year, it was extra special, because this is something that was supposed to happen last season, and then like I talked about yesterday, it got all messed up by COVID, the short 60-game season, never happened, and then this season, back to the full 162, things getting back to normal, not just with baseball, but all around the world. And then now you got this game. It was awesome. And, I think the venue was great. I think it was awesome. It was an awesome stadium. I'm going to say awesome a lot. So you can count, you can count my awesomes. I'll probably be the over-under for me saying awesome today is probably about 50. I would take the over. But back to my point with the field, just the whole venue was great. It was, the cornfields, the fence, the manual scoreboard, I think, was really cool. Because these are things that you don't get to see nowadays. Right nowadays, you got all the technology, and you got all the big jumbotrons and all the technology. And last night, with the old uniforms and the corn and the old scoreboard and just the old vibe to that field, which they purposely did, and I really like that. They purposely made it like an old vibe. Obviously, the movie coming from, I believe, 89. So, it was an older vibe. I really like that. And, it was a relatively small stadium. I always say seated 8,000, but I'll tell you what, that's all they needed. All they needed for Iowa in the cornfields was 8,000 seats. They didn't need to make the thing 40,000. 8,000 was more than enough. And the fans got into it, especially late in the game. I think at first, early on, the fans were kind of in awe. They were kind of just sitting there, just watching the game, wow, this is it. This is crazy, because it was. And on TV, it was great. And, cameras don't do justice, so you're there in person, it probably even looks 10 times better. But, then you have, manuals. I think one of my favorite parts of the stadium was that manual scoreboard. I don't know, something about it with the scoreboard and the manual scoreboard, and now seeing all the technology and all these big jumbotrons, it's so cool to see a manual scoreboard, because that's how it was back then. You would have people... and now you still have it in Boston. You have it at the Green Monster. I believe they still have it in Wrigley. I think they do, but they might have took it out because they did a lot of renovations to Wrigley. But Boston, I know with the Green Monster, they have the different plates. They slide them in, take them out. It's a little room. It's inside the Green Monster. It's not even that big. It's got all the plates, and you sit there and you listen, and Once a team scores a run, you put up another run on there. And that's how it was. I mean, that was so cool. And you saw the 3 people there working it. I believe they had, I don't know if this is true or not, but I believe they had the clock, too, that was manual. Like, it wasn't electronic. So, it definitely took on the old vibe of a stadium, which is exactly what they needed, considering it was, The Field of Dreams is an older type movie. It's about baseball, the love of the game. The America's pastime. Like, it represented baseball, not just the Field of Dreams movie, but it represented baseball great. And the introduction was also great because you had them coming out of the corn, which I thought was really cool. That definitely mixed me up a little bit because I thought they were going to individually announce the players coming out of the corn, like batting first, lead off LeMahieu, and he would come out of the corn. Instead, they all came out of the corn together, and I thought that was really cool. And the guy who was in the movie as well came out of the corn, was first, went up to about the infield. If you watch the game, you already know. And then, all the players came out. White Sox came out. Yankees came out. And then they introduced the players individually when they were in the infield. I thought they were going to introduce the players, one by one as they come out of the corn. But now that I think about it, it's probably better off they do that because coming out of corn, then you got to walk all the way up. It probably would have just took too much time. Rather, them all come out of the corn and then introduce them one by one. That was really cool. Bullpens were cool too. The whole stadium was really cool. And I know there were some people out there that were like, oh, could they have made the stadium a little bit bigger? That's all you needed. For one game, for a great experience, all you needed was 8,000 seats. You didn't need to make this whole 40,000 seat stadium. That's how the movie was too. That was the movie. Were they playing in this major stadium? No, they had a field in the corn. I mean, that's what it was. So you didn't need to be anything special. And I think, like I said, one of my favorite things about the stadium was the old vibe that it took on. Was the old type of vibe that it took. The scoreboard, even just the wall, the walls, with the wood, and even the batter's eye. In the outfield, it looked like an old barn. It took on an old vibe, and that was one of my favorite parts because with the movie, it truly connected to the movie. And I think one of the most exciting parts of the game was when you had that first, not for the White Sox, but for the Yankees, when Judge hit that first corn row home run. Because that's all people were talking about going into the game was who's going to hit in the corn first. Is there going to be any home runs? Because everyone was saying that too. Like, you can't have a game and not have a home run that lands in the corner. And sure enough, we had a lot of them. Judge had a home run. Stan had a home run. Gardner had a home run, which is surprising for a guy who doesn't hit for power throughout his career. He's more of a contact hitter. Then you had guys, Tim Anderson for the White Sox, Jose Abreu. They might have had one more. I don't know if they did or not. I have to look. I got my scorebook here. I'd have to flip it over. But yeah, so it was awesome. It was a great game, and I think it was great for MLB. For something that they've been planning for a long time, definitely was perfect. And you could tell how much they took care of that field, because the field was built a year ago, and they were supposed to have it a year, and now they had to wait. And instead of them maybe postponing it completely, they took their time and they kept that field top shape, and it definitely was great. And definitely was a really cool game. I think it was awesome. And as I said before, despite the result, this is something that people that were there, the players, and even fans who watched it on TV like me will remember forever because it was just an awesome game and something that you don't see often, and when you do, you got to remember it because despite the result, it was an awesome game. And the game itself was awesome. And let's get into the actual game. It was an awesome game. I said yesterday that I didn't want a blowout. Now, was it on its way to be a blowout, 7-4 in the bottom of the 8th, or going into the top of the 9th, rather? Yeah, I guess a little bit. Maybe the Yankees would have went down without a fight, after Gardner and LeMahieu struck out. Maybe the Yankees went down, with a single and things like that. Maybe you would say, oh, they went down without a fight. But the ending was awesome. And, Heaney struggled again, which is just one of these things, where you as a fan, and baseball's a hard sport, believe me. I play baseball. It's not an easy sport. It's not. But, you always have to wonder when you're a fan, why do these why does the organization, why do these coaches, why does this team still trust and believe that Heaney can go out there every 5 days and give them a performance? I mean, he just can't. He's not good. He's not a good pitcher. His ERA now is all the way up to 5.78. He allowed 7 runs yesterday. And the one thing with Heaney is it's not like he's letting up 12 hits. It's not. He's letting up long ball, and the long ball is destroying him. It's not that he's letting up all these big hits and they're hitting all over the place. It's really not. And that's something I was saying last night because I was watching the game, and I was saying, like, with Andrew Heaney, it's not like he's letting up a single and a double, single, double, double, triple, home run, single, double. He's just getting whacked around, and they're just finding holes, and the defense can't do anything about it. It's not like that. What's happening is it's home run, home run, home run. That's it. Boom. 3 home runs. Like, it was pretty crazy because as Heaney allowed 7 runs yesterday, and this just goes to show you how such of a weird sport baseball is. Heaney allowed 7 runs yesterday and threw 5 innings. Now, Lance Lynn yesterday threw 5 innings. He threw 105 pitches. He allowed 4 runs. So, Heaney, who allowed 7 runs, 7 of those were earned, and pitched 5 innings, he had 77 pitches. Okay, which is pretty crazy because 77 pitches is pretty efficient. And Lance Lynn had 105. Now, you might be asking, what's your point here? My point is, Heaney's not getting rocked around with singles and doubles and they're playing small ball. He's letting up the long ball. You eliminate the home run with Andrew Heaney, he goes out there and gives you 6 solid innings, 7 solid innings. It's the truth. It really is the truth. And that's how bad he's been. He's been letting up too many home runs. Last night, let up 3 home runs. Can't make that up. 3 home runs is not going to win you a ball game. It's only going to lose you a game. It's going to win it for the other team, not going to win you a game. So 3 home runs, terrible for Andrew Heaney. And I believe there was a stat. He's like the pitcher with the most home runs allowed, or tied for the most in his first couple Yankee starts. It's crazy. It really is wild. He lets up home runs, and it shows because his pitch count was down. 77 pitches. That's not that much. That's not that much. It's the long ball that's destroying him. Maybe he allows a runner on base, boom, then it's a home run. Allows a runner on base, boom, it's a home run. It's not like he's having these long 35-pitch innings where they're just rocking him and they're hitting everything he throws. It's not. It's not that. It's the home run. And it keeps destroying him. And how do the Yankees still have trust in this guy? I know he just came over, but he was stunk with Los Angeles. He was terrible with the Angels. His ERA was above 5 since he came here, and it's only gotten worse. His ERA is only 22 points now from 6. Yankees got to do something with him because you can't throw him out here every 5 days and let him let up 4, 5, 10 home runs every single game because it seems like that's the way it's been. And yet again last night, that's it. And, he doesn't start last night. If he doesn't allow 3 home runs, I know you could say, oh, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but you put anyone else out there. Have a starter go out there. Wandy Peralta look good, throw him out there. Do anything except Heaney. Nationally televised game, Field of Dreams, and Andrew Heaney's taking them out for the New York Yankees. It's not a recipe for success. It's a recipe for disaster, and it was on show last night. 5 innings, 5 hits, 7 runs, 7 earned, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, and the stat that hurts the most, he allowed 3 home runs. Against Baltimore, he allowed 4 home runs. He allows 3 last night. And his ERA now is all the way up to 5.78. Just wild. And, sure, the Yankees had chances last night. The one inning, they had second and third with 1 out. And they had chances. Don't get me wrong. They had chances. But, late in that game where you had, let's see here. So, late in the game where you had the runner on first, with Judge coming up, he hit the home run, and then Stan coming up, and then obviously Gallo getting on, and then Stan hitting the home run. There was a lot that went on there. So, yeah, you could say that the Yankees didn't take advantage of their chances, but I mean, they kind of did. I mean, yeah, they had some runners on and they didn't get on. But in the last inning, which mattered most at that point, they had a runner on first, and they did something with it. And then Gallo got on, they did something with him too. And they had good situational hitting. I'm just looking back here. You look at, you did have the one inning with, where Judge cranked that 2-run home run. And that's another thing too. The Yankees had a 3-run lead. And Heaney goes out there. You have a 3-1 lead. And, as a pitcher, you got to feel great about that. He made a mistake, allowed a home run to Jose Abreu. Then it was a 1-0 game. Offense comes back, gives him 3 runs. And hey, gives him 3 runs. And it's like as a pitcher, you got to thank Aaron Judge. You got to thank him and say, hey, Judge picks him up, goes out there, it's a 3-run home run, and Heaney just blows up after that. That can't happen. If you're a Yankee fan that's always supporting the pitcher, you don't have that card to fall back on saying the Yankees go with no run support, because the Yankees had 8 runs yesterday. They scored 8 runs. I don't know how much more runs you're supposed to score to win a baseball game. Really don't. The Yankees needed to score double digits? Really? Yankees scored runs yesterday. They did. Andrew Heaney was just awful, and Zach Britton, don't even get me started on Zach Britton. Has he been terrible this season? And I'm not even saying that because he lost yesterday and he blew the game. He has been terrible this season. He gets the first guy out, and then he walks the next guy. And it's like, you got to be kidding me. And you know that Tim Anderson's up. If anything, you pitch around Tim Anderson. And you know that Tim Anderson's up. And he walks the 9-hitter. The 9-hitter. We're not talking about walking Jimenez or walking Abreu, or walking Anderson, one of the big-time guys. He walks the 9-hitter. Just throwing balls in the dirt. And then hangs a nice cookie down the middle for Tim Anderson, who arguably is one of the better players in all the league, and just cranks that one to right field. And Britton walks off that field a loser. And he simply is, because a terrible performance by Zach Britton. And Britton's been good with the Yankees throughout his years, but this season's been awful for him. And there's no other way to put it. It's been awful. He's had injuries. He had the elbow, the bone chip in his elbow. Then he had the hamstring, and I believe it was the hamstring that he injured in Boston. Sure, he's had injuries. But, I mean, come on. He's had a bad year. 6.32 ERA. Even if it comes down to putting Joely Rodriguez out there another inning. I mean, they didn't hit at Rodriguez. He allowed, or even if it means putting Peralta. I mean, I would have loved to Peralta did well. Peralta did really well. He allowed 2 innings, no runs. He did not allow a hit. He walked 1 guy and struck out 3. Peralta actually did well. They put in Britton. And I was watching the game with someone, as I always do. And I said, right when they had Britton, I was like, he's going to blow this. I knew he was going to blow it. And once he walked that guy, I was sitting there and I was watching the game like, yep, this isn't good. This is a recipe for disaster. I was hoping that Tim Anderson would just roll over one and ground into a double play and we could all just be happy, but Britton's got to make it difficult, and that doesn't happen. And that's been the issue with the Yankees recently, is their bullpen's so thin. I mean, it's been so thin. Much needed day off today, though, for the Yankees, not just to try to reset and get focused on these next 2 games in Chicago, but to get this bullpen back to healthy again. I mean, this bullpen is taxed. It is really bad. And you saw last night. I mean, in a close game, we did not have our highest leverage players in there. You bring in Wandy Peralta, nothing against him, but he's not a high leverage player for us. I mean, he did a great job last night. He pitched 2 innings and 3 strikeouts, did not allow a hit. He came in a tough situation, right, where the White Sox just hammered Heaney for 7 runs. He came in and he kept that game a 3-run lead. And that's something that's really good. That game could have got out of hand. Wandy Peralta could have came in and it could have got out of hand 10-3 instead of 10-4 instead of 7-4. And sure enough, he did his job. He went out, pitched 2 really good innings. Joely Rodriguez came in, did his job, didn't allow a run. And Britton came in and didn't do his job. And as a bullpen, you got to ask about 3-4 guys to do their jobs. Last night, 2 of them did, the third didn't. And that's what's going to lose you a game. I've always said that, right? A bullpen. It's not about one guy. It's not about two. It's about the entire bullpen. Let's say the pitcher goes 5 innings like Heaney did. Peralta gave them 2. Rodriguez gave them 1. That's perfect. 3 innings right there. Britton came in. He was the last guy. he gives them the innings, then boom, 3 guys get the job done. That's when you need to complete a game out of your bullpen. And 2 of them did, the third didn't, and that's going to lose you a game. And that's what lost them the game. Yeah, the Yankees had a chance to score runs, and sometimes they didn't, but that's been the way all season, and the Yankees have found ways to win even when they don't score runs that much. Yankees had 8 runs last night. The offense did the job. They came all the way back. They got the job done, and Zach Britton just blew it in the 9th inning. And that just can't happen. It can't. And, Chapman's on the IL. I don't know if Chapman would have made any difference. He's been better recently, but who even knows if he would have made any difference. I think, personally, now, you might think I'm crazy. Actually, comment down below. This is actually something I want to see what Yankee fans, comment down below. Would you rather, bottom of the 9th, yesterday's situation, Yankees just come back 8-7. Would you rather Chapman out there or Zach Britton? Comment down below your thoughts. I kind of want to see. Would you rather Chapman or Zach Britton out there? Now, just forget about the outcome. Because I know a lot of people might take in the outcome of Britton in consideration. Forget about that. Just choose based off of this season and based off of your trust in each player. Who would you rather out there, Chapman or Britton? Because it's easy to say Chapman right now, because Britton blew it. Now, if Britton went in there and got the save, I wouldn't have been asking the question. Just want to ask, though. Based off on this season in general, who would you rather out there, Chapman or Zach Britton? And if neither, then you could just say someone else. Loai's the guy I would have took. I would have put in anyone really except Britton. I didn't want Britton. And I'm not just saying that because they won the game. I didn't. Britton has been terrible all year. He hasn't been good. As much as I can't stand Joe Buck and John Smoltz, but they nailed it on the head. He's had a bad year. He hasn't. He's not been a good player. So put him in a game like that. It's a recipe for disaster, and that's the turnout. So let's look at some of the numbers yesterday. LeMahieu went 1 for 3 with 2 walks and a strikeout. He started the game off with a single. Gardner went 2 for 5 with 2 runs, an RBI, and 2 strikeouts. He got a home run on a single, so he had a good game. Judge as well. He went 2 for 5 with 5 RBIs, a walk, and a strikeout. Gallo went 0 for 3 with a run scored, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Gallo's been getting unlucky with the shift, and I know everybody has their different feelings on the shift, but yesterday he had a nice ground ball up the middle. It would have been a single, but with the shift, it wasn't. Let's see here. Voit went 0 for 4 with a walk and 3 strikeouts. Velasquez came in. He didn't get an at-bat. Odor went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Higgy went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. And Wade went 2 for 4 with a run scored and a strikeout. Wade's been hitting good for us. He has. And he had a nice bunt yesterday, too. That got him a single as well. So, overall, your final line here. Yankees, 8 runs, 8 hits, no errors. White Sox, 9 runs, 8 hits, 1 error. The scoring by inning. White Sox put up 1 in the first. Yankees had 3 in the third. White Sox then put up 4 in the bottom of the third. That was 6-3. Or 5-3, rather. And then in the bottom of the fourth, the White Sox had 2 more, so that was 7-3. And the Yankees added 1 more in the sixth, 7-4. And then the Yankees put up 4 in the top of the ninth, 8-7. And the White Sox put up 2 more in the ninth, bottom of the ninth, to finish off the game 9-8. Yankees moved to 63-58 on the season, and the White Sox moved to 68-48 on the season. Tomorrow's game, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then Sunday's game will be 2:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Yankees, White Sox will finish up the series there. That's before the Yankees head home for a weird series, for a weird stretch of games at home. They have 1 against the Angels. It's a makeup game. Then, actually, I could check the probables. Okay, I was going to say Ohtani won't pitch that game, but either way. So 1 against the Angels, then they have a doubleheader on Tuesday against the Red Sox. And then game on Wednesday against the Red Sox. And then they have a 4-game set against the Twins, and then they go on the road. So that's kind of interesting because you have, in 3 days, you're going to play 4 games. And 1 against Angels and 3 against Red Sox across 2 days. So weird homestand for the Yankees there. Then they have 4 against Minnesota, which should be a very easy series considering Minnesota stunk this season. And they've gotten weaker since the last time the Yankees played them because they sold at the deadline. And updated on wild card, then I'll get to the Jets and Giants. Updated on the wild card situation. We'll get to the standings first, actually. So Yankees are 63-52 on the season. They're 7 games back. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And in the wild card, they are now still 2 games back, 63-52 and 2 games back. Luckily, even though we lost yesterday, luckily the Red Sox lost, so they didn't gain any ground on us, and luckily the Blue Jays lost, so they didn't gain any ground on us. Who did gain ground, though, is the Seattle Mariners, who are on a 2-game win streak, and they are now 4.5 back, 2 back of the Blue Jays. So the Mariners still staying alive. The Angels mathematically aren't out of it, but they are not. They're more of a long shot. They're 7.5 back of the wild card. 3 back of the Mariners, 3 back of the Mariners, and 5 back of the Blue Jays. So that will be interesting. And 5.5 back of the Yankees, and 7.5 total from a wild card. The A's are getting hot at the wrong time. If you're a Yankee fan, the A's are getting hot at the wrong time. The A's are 8-2 in their last 10 and are on a 7-game win streak, including a massive win yesterday against the Indians. So Yankees got to get going. We do. And last night would have been a great game to win the way we came back, but it didn't. But as I said earlier, I'm going to say it one more time, then we'll get to the Jets and Giants and the rest of the podcast. All right. Yes, the Yankees lost yesterday. Yes, the White Sox walked it off, and yes, it was in the fashion that it happened. Like, it was not great. It was a walk-off home run. Either way, though, it was an awesome game. It was a great experience. It was one of the best games I've ever watched in terms of experience and view and venue. It was awesome. So, it was a great game. MLB really did a great job with this, and super, super happy that the Yankees were involved. I am. I'm very happy that the Yankees were involved because it was a great experience as a fan, and I was watching on TV. For the people that were at the game, I'm sure it was even better. But on TV, it was great. The scoreboard, the scoreboard that they had on TV was classic. Everything about the game was awesome, and just a great night for baseball. So that's what I got for the Yankees and the White Sox. And, yeah, other than that, coming up next here, I want to get into the Jets and Giants preseason preview. They will face off tomorrow at MetLife Stadium for the first game of the preseason, and then they'll get going the rest of the way in the preseason. So coming up next here, I want to get into Jets and Giants preseason. We'll get to that next. All right, so you welcome me back here up at the podcast. As we all know, yesterday was some more preseason games. Yesterday the NFL had 2 games on yesterday. The New England Patriots defeated the Washington football team 22-13, and the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Philadelphia Eagles 24-16. Today we got 3 games on today: Titans, Falcons in Atlanta, Bills, Lions in Detroit, and Cowboys, Cardinals in Arizona. So 3 games on today, and then tomorrow we got more games on, and then Sunday you got 1 game on, which is the Panthers and Colts in Indianapolis. So football is right around the corner. I guess you can kind of say it's back. It's not completely back because it's just preseason, but as I've always said, it's football's football, and it's some action. It's going to be exciting, and it's always fun. So should be fun. Jets and Giants kick off tomorrow with both their games on tomorrow. They'll kick off with both of them tomorrow, I should say. All right, so I just want to get that up there. So Jets and Giants kick off their preseason tomorrow. Then the Jets next Saturday, will play against Green Bay at Lambeau, and the Jets will come back home Friday, August 27th, to play the Philadelphia Eagles. Really messed up there. Philadelphia Eagles for the final game of their preseason. And then it's the season. And that's really where it gets big, because then it's the season, and then you got, that's when you get all the roster moves and the roster cuts, and that's when you find out, who's starting, who's not, depth chart, and all different things like that. So, right, it's an action-packed time. This part of August is really where They consider it for baseball the dog days of summer, and for football it's the dog days of training camp and stuff as well, because this is now where you really get into the grind where they're starting to make roster cuts, they're starting to shorten up the roster for the regular season, they're going to start to make moves. You might see some surprising roster cuts, but it's going to be a great time to be it's a very exciting time as I think players, and I think it's a very nervous time for players, and as a fan it's exciting too, because you want to see who's out there week one. You want as the roster gets shorter and shorter and shorter, you get a better idea, better understanding of who's going to be ready, who's going to be playing, what the depth chart's going to look like, the starting lineups, who's going to be out there, all that stuff. And as a fan, that's always what you're looking towards, because you always want to know, like, if there's a question at a certain position and there's a training camp battle, we're going to find that out very soon. Now, we have gotten word with the New York Giants that tomorrow the Daniel Jones will not be starting. He will not play tomorrow, which, not that I don't disagree. I know a lot of Giants fans out there wanted to see him. I think with Zach Wilson starting, I think a lot of Giants fans wanted to counter that with a little bit of Daniel Jones and kind of a little bit of the New York quarterback battles there. But either way, it's kind of one of those things where, as a Jet fan, as a Giant fan, you also, Daniel Jones is going to be your starting quarterback this season. So there's not many questions. For the Jets, on the other hand, it's different because you want to see what Zach Wilson's all about. It's his first season, going to be his first game action. It's a little bit different for the New York Giants than it is for the New York Jets. Now, let me tell you this. I mean, tomorrow night, I think is going to be a good game. I think there is going to be a little extra added energy for the Jets for the game tomorrow, just because it's Zach Wilson's first game. It's going to be interesting to see, what he does, how the Jets kind of do. Do the Jets go out there and tell him, hey, sling it. It's preseason. Go out there, do what you want to do. Or are the Jets going to go out there and be a little bit more conservative with him, run the ball more, set him up in short down and distances, get him comfortable, and then maybe air it out a little bit more in his second, third preseason starts, and then obviously as he gets more comfortable throughout the regular season. That's going to be something I'm going to be watching for. How do the Jets approach Zach Wilson's first preseason game? Do they approach it of just go out and sling it? Don't go out. It's okay to make mistakes in the preseason. Just go out and sling it. Or do they say, hey, go out, be conservative, stick to the game plan, and let's see what you're capable of? It's going to be one of those two things. And personally, I'm okay with both, because I think if there is a time to go out and sling it and see what what your arm's capable of, see if you can test defenses, now's the time to do it, instead of in a big game during the regular season that might mean something, going out and messing around a little bit. Because it is preseason, and it does not count. For some guys, it's big. For some guys that are trying to make a roster spot, for some guys that are maybe on the fringe of getting cut, training camp battles, guys that are, it's depending on who's going to get the starting job or not. It does mean something to some players, but for Zach Wilson, for example, this is an opportunity for him to get his first NFL experience and kind of a feeling out process of what it's like to be an NFL quarterback. That's kind of what it's like. That's what's going to be expected of him. Now, I will tell you this. There's only so much you can take from... This is why I'm actually very excited that Zach Wilson's starting tomorrow. Because there's only so much you can take from training camp. And there's also only so much you can take from preseason. Because you got to realize, right, before we all get ahead of ourselves, and if Zach Wilson has a really good game tomorrow, before we all say, oh, he's great and he's amazing, let's just calm down for a second and say, you're all going to go up against some backups. It is going to be some different defenses. You might see some guys that you won't usually see if you played the Giants in the regular season. You might see some backup quarterbacks. Wilson might be playing with some other receivers, right? It's a little different because they're trying to filter out all these guys in, get all these different playing times, and they're all trying to just do the best they can to get every guy a chance and an opportunity to show what they're capable of. So, it can go one of two ways. Wilson could look great tomorrow, and maybe he doesn't even have his full receiving core. And if he does, then you got to feel great, because then when he goes with his full receiving core, that's awesome. But there's only so much you can take from training camp because it's not a real game. Sure, you're scrimmaging and stuff, but it's against your same team. It's not in a big stadium. It's not in front of a big crowd. It's a little different. Now, when you actually get to MetLife and you play in front of that big, it's not a big crowd. It's preseason, but still, it's a crowd. It's bigger than what you usually are playing in front of, and you're playing up against a different team. It's a little bit different. So I do think there's going to be a lot to be able to take away from the Jets and Zach Wilson's first start tomorrow, because I think you got to look for, right off the bat, does he look comfortable in the pocket? Because that was one of the things that he was really good in BYU. He was comfortable in the pocket. He was completely okay with rolling out and throwing on his run. Is he comfortable with that? That's going to be something that we're going to find out tomorrow. Something else we're going to find out tomorrow is who gets more snaps, Morgan Moses or George Font? Because all of a sudden, that's a battle at right tackle. Who's going to be that? Who's going to be the guy starting at right tackle? George Font or Morgan Moses? It's going to be interesting to see how they play those two guys. I do want to know if Elijah Moore is going to play, because I want to see Elijah Moore in a game. I think that's going to be awesome, but we'll see. That's going to be, time will tell there. So definitely a lot of questions. The biggest thing I'm looking forward to tomorrow is, how does Zach Wilson look? Does he look comfortable, right? The pocket. If the pocket collapses, is he comfortable rolling out like he did at BYU, maybe using his legs? Right? I don't want Wilson to go full out and try to dive for a first down in preseason, because, hey, he's got to stay healthy for the full 17 games. But if you follow what I'm saying, can he roll out? Does he feel comfortable in the pocket? One of the things that I think we want to see is, if the pocket collapses, what does he do? Because a lot of times you see out of rookies, they panic and they throw the ball across the middle. Does he not panic and maybe rolls out? Does he maybe just throw it away? Does he try to find an open receiver? Right? Those are all things you want to see out of rookies, because we saw it a lot with Sam Darnold. Pocket collapsed, and he panicked and he would throw it across the middle. You see a lot of times with quarterbacks in general. Every quarterback does it. Pocket collapses, you don't see anyone open, and you just want to get rid of the ball. Guys panic and they throw interceptions. That's how a lot of these guys throw interceptions, is through panicking when the pocket collapses and throwing the ball. That's how important it is to have a good offensive line, because you need time in the pocket. So that's going to be something I'm looking forward to tomorrow with Wilson. I'm also looking for, just in general, just his overall game. His ability to run, his throwing, his accuracy, all those stuff. Just his overall game. Because he did a lot of great things at BYU. It's going to be interesting to see how he carries them over in NFL action. Now, this is his first preseason game, and I want to make this an announcement. Don't, get too caught up in the result. If he goes out and throws 3 touchdowns and 150 yards in the 3 possession he plays, that's great. But don't get caught up in the result. It's preseason, okay? It's going to be his first NFL game. So don't get caught up in the result. If he has a great game, that's awesome. But he still got, that's awesome. But, we also got to see, continuing to build. Right? That's what we want to see. And that's going to be something I think that the Jets are expecting, right? Every rookie's going to make mistakes. It's just a matter of, can you fix those mistakes, and can you not make that mistake the next time? Right? If you accidentally throw the ball across the middle with the pocket collapsing. If you make that mistake, well, next time make sure you don't make that same mistake. Right? If you try to force a ball in there, don't make that same mistake again. If you make a great throw that next time, well, try to make that great throw again, right? There's always going to be learning. And this is going to be good, too, for Wilson, because he's going to be able to take actual game film from the NFL and use this to learn throughout the rest of the offseason. So I'm super excited for tomorrow. And if you're the Giants, with Daniel Jones not playing, I don't know if there's so much to look for other than, what the defense looks like. I don't know if Galladay's going to play, maybe what he looks like. I think what Giants fans wanted to see is if Daniel Jones and Galladay can get on the same page early, if they got a possession or two. But I think that's something else that you might want to see later on in preseason, second game, third game, and even into the joint practices. Those are going to be some interesting things. So what I'm looking for, like I said, overall, what I'm looking for tomorrow is I also want to see what the Jets secondary does. Because I feel like it's going to be a lot of mixing and mashing. We're going to see that tomorrow. We're going to see a lot of different guys in there cycling in and out. What guys make a big impression? What guys maybe don't? What guys do their job? We'll see. And overall, the big guy that we're all looking at is Wilson. And what does he do in his first NFL game action? Like we all said, Robert Saleh said yesterday that he'll get about a quarter to play. So not a ton. He's not playing the whole 60 minutes, I'll tell you that for sure, but he'll get about a quarter. So 15 minutes, about 3 possessions, I would say, 2-3 possessions. Like I said, all depending on how the time. If you have a long 7 minutes of possession, well, that's a different story, but about 2-3 possessions Wilson will get. So 2-3 possessions, 1 quarter of football for Zach Wilson, the youngster, and we'll be able to see some of these other receivers as well, and we'll be able to see what this offense can do in their first NFL game action together. And that's, I think, is going to be exciting. And there's going to be some takeaways from it. There's going to be a lot that you can take away from, but you also got to realize this is the first game for a lot of these guys. So they're going to still learn, and they're still going to grow, and there's still going to be opportunities to get better. So that's what I take from this. And, I hope that the Jets do well, and I hope we get the win. Jets are favored 2 points, which is kind of funny considering that's not the case. By the way, the updates on this. So Elijah Moore's questionable with an injury. He's questionable with a quad, I believe. So he's got an MRI there. If you're the Jets, I think if you're the Jets, you got to take this thing slow and just reset and kind of say, you know what, we just got to reset here and take this thing a little slow. I think if that's what you got to do if you're the Jets. With Elijah Moore, you got to take it slow. Play the long game with him. Don't rush him back for one preseason game, if you follow what I'm saying. So, like I said earlier with Green Bay, I don't know why I'm having a tough time picturing that, but I just can't picture the Jets going all the way out to Green Bay, playing in Lambeau Field for a preseason game. That's just not, I don't know, something about it. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm struggling. You would think, for preseason, they would kind of stay local with the teams. Because you don't see the Jets flying all the way out to Seattle to play the Seahawks for a preseason game. Jets play Giants, Jets play Eagles. They're all relatively local. Even though the Jets technically have 2 away games out of the 3 preseason games, they're home for the one Jets-Giants because they're at their home stadium. Now, it is a Giants home game, but they're at their home stadium because they share a stadium. So, you got this week. You got 3 games in a row. So, 3 weeks in a row, we'll have Jets football. 2 Saturday games this week and next week, then a Friday game the week after that. So, yeah, and then you get into the regular season, and that's when it really gets fun. So, Jets Giants preseason, a lot to look for, definitely going to be exciting, and I'm pretty excited for I'm pretty excited for what's to come with Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. So, alrighty, so let's get to the New York Sports Update, finish off the podcast and the week full of podcasts. As for yesterday, we got the Diamondbacks won, Angels won, Giants won, Reds won, Rays won, Tigers won, Brewers won, Mariners won, A's won, Phillies won, Cardinals won, and then Mets won both games yesterday 4-1, and then they won 5-4, so they moved to 59-55 on the season. As I mentioned earlier, Yankees lost 9-8. Yankees moved to 64-51. Alrighty. So as for today, we got the Nationals, Braves. I'll give Braves the win. Brewers, Pirates, give Brewers the win. Phillies, Reds, give Phillies the win. Marlins, Cubs, give Marlins the win. Indians, Tigers, give Indians the win. Red Sox, Orioles, give Red Sox the win. A's, Rangers, give A's the win. Cardinals, Royals, give Cardinals the win. Rays, Twins, give Rays the win. Astros, Angels, give Astros the win. Padres, Diamondbacks, give Padres the win. Giants, Rockies, give Giants the win. And Blue Jays, Mariners, give Blue Jays the win. Mets also play today. Mets come in this game 59-55. Dodgers come in this game 69-46. This game goes on today, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time on MLB Network. You can also find this game on SNY. Dodgers got Julio Urias on the mound. He's 13-3 with a 3.14 ERA. And the Mets got Tyler McGill on the mound. He's 1-2 with a 3.20 ERA. The over-under for this game is 8. 84% of people say the Dodgers will win. Give me the Dodgers. As I mentioned earlier, Yankees have a day off today. Alrighty, as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently winning 266-102. And today I've got going Will Smith, Matt Olson, Marcus Semien, Austin Riley, Jake Cronenworth, J.P. Crawford, Carlos Correa, Gene Segura, Christian Yelich, Austin Meadows, Dylan Carlson, Manuel Margot, Josh Harrison, Whit Merrifield. I probably should make some moves here. There's some injury things, so I'm still kind of waiting on how these things go. But these are the injury updates. So Dylan Carlson will undergo an MRI in his right wrist. Derek Gold of St. Louis Post-Dispatch reports. Then we got Josh Harrison. He's day-to-day. Harrison was diagnosed with the right quadricep strain after exiting Thursday's 17-0 win over Cleveland in the second inning. Matt Kawara of the San Francisco Chronicle reports he drew a walk and scored a run over his lone plate appearance. Avisail Garcia is also day-to-day. Garcia hand isn't starting Thursday's game against the Cubs. That's old news. I made a roster move today. I dropped Tariq Skubal and added Brett Anderson. So Brett Anderson will be my starting pitcher for today's game. Other than that, there's no real updates other than that on anyone else. So there's no real updates on anyone else. I should probably put in Carlos Correa over one of these guys. I need more outfielders, to tell you that for sure. Because if these guys, I need some more outfielders. Definitely would say I need some more outfielders. But either way, that's what I got for fantasy. So looks like I'm on my way to another win. I don't want to jinx anything because, I'll say that and then it'll come back and win. But looks like I'm on my way to another win. So that's 2 straight wins now, if I do get the win here. And then that'll be 2 straight wins plus 3 more games left, I believe. So there's still an opportunity for me to finish 13-8 and be a high seed. That's obviously the goal. I think that 3-game losing streak that I had really hurt me. But hey, I'm gonna, if I win this series, be back up to 10-8, get to 10 wins, and good chance that I'll be in the playoffs. I have an 85% chance right now in the playoffs. I believe if I win this week, I'll probably have like a 90-something chance. So playoff chances are going to be very high. Because the person that's fighting for a playoff spot behind me, they're like 1 game below 500, and now they're about 2, I think, if they lose this week. So I'll be 2 games ahead of them, and with 3 games to go, I would have to really mess up to not win, to not make the playoffs. But that's the thing. So if I win this week, I'll be 10-8, and then some more games to go, which it was always said. I'll tell you what, I have not made a trade yet this year in fantasy baseball. I was not expecting that. I was expecting, for my first year with the draft and everything, I was expecting me to go out and make some trades and stuff, but I haven't. I always say, I'm not a big trader in fantasy. I'm just not, because I'm just not. Like, I would rather use the waiver wire and try to put different guys in the lineup here and there. That's what I try to do. I'm not a big trader, because if you trade 3 guys for another 3 guys and it blows up right in your face, then there's your season. It's risky. Instead of going out and getting a waiver wire, which isn't as risky, because let's be honest, if your waiver wire doesn't work out and the guy you pick up doesn't work out, well, you drop him. It's not that easy. It's just that easy. Unlike if you trade away 3 guys and they end up having great rest of the seasons and you don't have those guys, right? That's the issue. Because actually in basketball, earlier in the season in basketball, I was going to trade away Jimmy Butler because he wasn't doing anything. He was injured, doesn't do anything. I was thinking about trading him. Sure enough, I decided not to. I was really close to trading him, and the person that gave me a deal, I ended up not really liking it a ton, and we kept on going back and forth. And sure enough, I said, we could just maybe do it another time, just kind of stop talking about the trade and stuff. And sure enough, Butler starts having a great year. And if I would have traded him, I would have done nothing. And actually, the person that I would have traded for him, I believe, ended up tearing his ACL. I think it might have been Jamal Murray. So it would have never worked out. So that's why trades are always risky. If you trade for a guy, you get another guy, and that guy gets injured, it's an issue. So trades always are a little risky, especially when you're in a situation where you're competing for a playoff spot like me. Well, I'm in the playoffs right now, but, still got to win some more games. If you make a trade and it doesn't go well, that's an issue. I know a lot of people in our league have offered me a lot of trades, and I didn't. I know some people. I know one person in my league offered me a trade first day of the season. Gave me Gary Sanchez for Will Smith, and I was no. So I'm glad I didn't do that, because Will Smith's a good catcher. He is. Dodgers have a lot of good players. They do. Trey Turner, Will Smith, Turner, Betts. Their pitching staff's really good with Scherzer now, Buehler, Urias, who's pitching tonight against the Mets. But yeah, that'll do it for the week. Another good week in the books of podcasts. A lot of baseball over the weekend. Yankees, White Sox resume tomorrow, and then they'll play again on Sunday. Mets, Dodgers start up their 3-game set today, so I'll be able to watch that game tonight, which should be good. Kind of wish the Jets played tonight, not going to lie, because if they played tonight, it wouldn't interfere with the Yankees game tomorrow. So, tomorrow I'm going to have to get one on my phone and one on TV. Really what I'm looking for in the Jets game is see what Wilson's all about, in his first game. That's really what I want to see. Fourth quarter, if there's a guy that throws a touchdown, so what? That's great. But that's what I'm really looking forward to. So, a lot of sports ahead on the weekend. That'll do it. As you all know, I take breaks on the weekend, so that'll do it. Everybody enjoy your weekend. I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.